That's a fascinating idea, isn't it? And if you're a golfer, it's probably a frustratingly familiar one. It basically suggests that the biggest problem on the course, it isn't your swing, it's not the clubs, it's not the wind, it's the part of you, that I, that's trying so desperately to get it right.
So let's dive right in. We are going to look at the actual neuroscience of peak performance. The goal here? To show you how to get that internal micromanager, that voice in your head, to just step aside so you can finally unlock that perfect golf swing your body already knows how to do.
Ah, the interloper on the tee. We've all been there. You're standing over a critical shot, the pressure's on, and boom, this little voice pops into your head, starts giving you instructions. That's the interloper. Think of it like a mental backseat driver. And it's almost always the reason we choke.
I mean, think about it. On the driving range, your swing feels fluid, automatic, right? But then you get to the 18th hole with everything on the line, and that anxious manager just shows up. It's obsessed with the outcome. It wants to know where the ball is going to go, it wants to take the credit for a great shot, or maybe line up an excuse for a bad one. The second that eye gets involved to watch and judge, it sends this, well, it's like a kill signal to your muscles. All that fluidity just snaps, and suddenly the ball is shanking off into the woods.
Okay, so to really get why this happens, we need to look inside the brain. And it turns out we have these two key players that are basically in a constant tug of war for control. So let's meet them. We're going to call them the manager and the machine. And here is the absolute key to this whole thing. These two networks in your brain, they can't both be on at the same time. They work like a seesaw. When your brain sends power to one, the other one has to power down. It's a physical thing. You literally cannot be daydreaming about your final score while also being completely absorbed in the physical act of the swing. Something's gotta give. This chart just lays it out so clearly. On one side, you've got the manager, which neuroscientists call the default mode network, or DMN. Its whole world is internal. It's focused on you, your past mistakes, your future hopes. It's the source of that feeling of, I am a good golfer, or, I am so nervous. But on the other side, you have the machine. This is the task-positive network, the TPN, and it is all about the external world, right here, right now. It's the network that kicks in for pure doing, when that sense of self just kind of melts away.
So what does this whole neural battle actually look like when you're standing over the ball? Let's dissect it. Let's look at the anatomy of that dreaded shank.
In this image, this just shows it perfectly. Your machine, that's your highly skilled motor system, it's primed and ready to execute a beautiful swing. But then the manager, which lives up in your prefrontal cortex, it gets nervous. It tries to step in, to consciously control the process, and in doing so, it just jams the signal. It creates this horrible disconnect between what you want to do and what your body actually does. Yeah, this table just nails the difference. In that beautiful flow state, your expert systems like your cerebellum, they're running the show. The manager is off. And your brain sees the swing as one single fluid piece of information, one chunk. You don't even think about it, it just happens. But in the careful state, that prefrontal cortex hijacks the system. The manager is on, it's monitoring every little thing. It unpacks that one fluid swing into 1,000 tiny separate muscle commands, and the feeling totally shifts from effortless action to this clumsy, conscious effort of, I am trying to swing.
This is the classic centipede's dilemma, and it is the perfect analogy for what's happening on the golf course. I mean, the centipede ran perfectly its whole life until it started thinking about how it runs. Your golf swing is exactly the same. The second you start consciously picking apart an automatic skill, you completely paralyze the very system that made it automatic in the first place.
Okay, so we've diagnosed the problem, right? The manager's the bad guy here. But the good news is you can fire him. So let's get into 3 really practical, science-backed steps you can use to get that noisy critic out of your head for good.
Now, this is maybe the most important rule of all. You can't win a debate with the voice in your head. And why is that? Well, because arguing, reasoning, justifying, all of that stuff is a manager activity. Trying to think your way into the zone just keeps the manager active. It keeps him on that side of the seesaw. The only way to win is to refuse to play his game.
So how do we actually do it? Well, first, you force an external focus. You take your attention off of something internal like your wrist angle, and you put it on something intensely external and specific, like one single dimple on the back of the golf ball. Second, you use a sensory anchor, a simple rhythmic mantra, like whispering Morikawa. It basically gives the verbal part of your brain a boring job to do so it can't start worrying. And finally, you veto the noise. When that negative thought pops up, don't mess this up. Don't argue with it. Just label it noise and snap your focus right back to that dimple.
All right, now let's put all these pieces together. We're going to build a powerful, repeatable pre-shot routine that is specifically designed to tip that neural seesaw, to shut down the manager, and to put all your trust back into your expert machine.
This is what we call the blind finish protocol. And really, it is the ultimate test of whether you've fired the manager. You pick your dimple, you start your mantra, you swing. But here's the absolute key. You commit to holding your finish, that perfect, statue-like pose, for 3 full seconds after the ball is long gone. You are intentionally denying the manager the one thing it craves, the result. Your only feedback is the sound of a pure strike, not the sight of the ball flying through the air. This forces you, really forces you to trust the process.
And this really gets at a much, much bigger idea. The real goal of the swing isn't to hit the ball to the target. That's a result. That's a manager obsession. The true goal is just to execute a perfect process. And when you can focus entirely on that, on a perfect, trusted process, a great result just becomes the natural, inevitable byproduct.
So I'll just leave you with this question to chew on. This whole principle, focusing on the process over the outcome, silencing that internal narrator so the expert machine can just do its job, it goes so far beyond the golf course. What if happiness itself is just like that? What if it's something that only shows up as a side effect when we finally stop anxiously checking in on ourselves and just get lost in the act of living?